everybody, and welcome to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, share the video, and definitely leave a comment. Bring this brother back on for a part two because we weren't finished what we were talking about. The brother I'm talking about is Reggie. Served almost 30 years of his life in prison, turned his life around while he was in there, and he's out here doing great things. Reg, man, I appreciate you coming back on the show. And I'd like to start off with what you're doing right now. You know, who you're helping, who you're working with. Talk a little bit about that for the people.
Okay. Again, brother, the pleasure is all mine, right? You helped me a lot, like I said, with finding the ingredients, the inspiration to keep going, to get out of prison. But when it was finally time, it was the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls who came to my aid and took on my case. You know, there's an attorney by the name of Catherine Sevchenko. She's a firefighter, and what I mean by that is not like she fights fires, but she is a flamethrower, and she just wouldn't let up. She wouldn't let up. We built a relationship, and she fought for me, man. She fought for me to the end. I mean, even when the judge kept saying, he told me no at first. He denied my motion. She went right back at him after 30 days and came even harder. And in the end, I was home. You know, the National Council, they march on the White House lawn. They'll rally in front of a governor's house. That's how fierce they are. And now what they're doing is they have a group called we have a group called the Charlotte Ray Freedom Initiative, where we put together teams of college students, and like I'm on the Pamela Tyler team, a woman who's been incarcerated for damn near 20 years, and we're fighting for her. And there's other groups, and this is what we do, you know. And I mentor some of the college students, and that's just one of the things I'm doing. Some other things I'm doing, I'm writing a book, me and my mother. That's about to come out very soon. And me and my mother's going to come out with a children's clothing line, you know, and I'm just constantly paying it forward, I can't stop. It's just what I do.
That's what it's about. You know, I want to ask you something. You were originally sentenced to 25 to life, right?
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you this question because I want some of these kids to think about this. You know, when you're living that life out there, Reggie, right, and you're in the street, and we were young, we made irrational, irresponsible choices. We thought we were them dudes. I'm that dude, man. The only thing that matters is the streets, right? But when they sentence you to 25 to life, man, what went through your mind?
Okay. At that time, I was 22 when I got sentenced to 25 years of life. Excuse me. I was an extreme roughneck. All right. So it took a lot to get to me. So on the day that I got to 25 years, the biggest pain to me was my mother sitting in the courtroom and the shriek that she made when he said the amount of time that he sentenced me to. And that's what created a fire inside of me. And it was painful, man. You know, it was like her heart was being torn apart. And I sat in that bullpen waiting to go back to Rikers Island. And I kind of became kind of numb to it. You know, you go up north, you're 22. The yard, like I said, the yard was wild and crazy. So it took me a few years how painful it was, and you know, to be away from your family like that, you know, to not see daylight. Remember, when you first go in New York State, they give you something called a time computation sheet. And I tell this story all the time. I'm sentenced in 1993 to 25 years. Okay. Really life with the possibility of parole at 25. Remember that. So they give you what's called a time computation sheet. And on that time computation sheet, there's a front number and there's a max number. since I was sentenced to 25 to life or life with the possibility of parole at 25 years, my number said in 93 that I don't see the parole board until 2017 in November. So imagine that in order for me to get to the new millennium, I got to do 7 years first. And then there's another 18 years left with 9999 on the paper. So it's almost like it's never ending. You can't see that far. It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? To get there.
How did you, because I asked you that because I want some people to think about this, right? A lot of dudes in New York, man, they just killed another kid in my neighborhood, 31 years old. Someone will probably eventually be arrested for it. It's just kind of how it works, not everybody gets away. And I want people to think about what it feels like to have that piece of paper that says 9999. That's why I asked you that question. So I want people to think about that before they make a choice that they're going to forever regret. When you lost them 25 years, they were forever lost, right?
Gone. I mean, like I said, when I got that time computation sheet and that shriek that my mother made, and I go from one cell to the next, and they giving you a number in downstate, they sending you from downstate to Elmira, gladiator school. You go from a gladiator school to another gladiator school. You go from there to another jail and another jail and another jail. You see life from a whole different lens when you're sitting in those cells like that. I seen it, like I said, it took me some years, but it didn't take really that many. It's just I didn't get it completely. 95 was a really bad year for me because in 95, I'm 24, 25, and I lost my grandfather, and I lost a couple of friends to the streets. And I was sitting in the cell one day, and there's a song by an old group called the Shylights, and they have a song called The Coldest Days of My Life. And I was sitting in the cell by myself, and that song came on, and I just kept playing it over and over. And I said, this is it. This is as cold as it gets right here. But I have to come up out of this. I can't allow this world to pull me under. But believe me, it's not easy. So anybody that's out there living the life and they think they're going to just keep catching these murders over and over and over and over, there's a such thing as a law of average. And you can't keep doing this and think you're going to tap the N or the B. Sooner or later, you're going to hit the V, which means victim, or you're going to hit the D, which means death. There's not a third option. If you're going to play that murder game, there's not a third option. If you're going to play that street game for real, it has a flip side, man.
Say that again. I want you to say that again. What did you say? It was the coldest what? That song?
The song was titled The Coldest Days of My Life by the Shylights. And it came on and I kept playing. And that was the coldest days of my life, that 1995. And that's when I told myself, I have to become somebody, man. I have to grow. And I started programming at that point. I started taking programs. I started being around different groups of people, But being in gladiator school prisons, even when you try to pull back, it's almost impossible, man. It's almost impossible, man.
It's ironic that you talked about. Was that on the wall, Jack? Or did you have
the song? Yeah, the song was on the wall jack.
So a lot of people don't know what the wall jack is. The wall jack was these big metal headphones.
Yeah, exactly.
3 different outlets. One was Spanish.
Yes.
One would change all the time. One might be R&B. One might be hip hop.
Exactly.
All the was Spanish. And I want people to think about that because when you're in that cell, it is the coldest day, the coldest night. When you're all alone, it's just you and yourself looking at you. You're looking at yourself in the mirror. You can lie to everybody in the world, but you can't lie to yourself. At the end of the day, that shit hurts, doesn't
it? It absolutely does. And listen to this, right? And people say I always use music to make my points, right? But you can't, Teddy Pendergrass got a song. And in the song, he says, you can't hide from yourself. Everywhere you go, there you are. And in that cell, you're really right there. Because in Comstock, remember, the cells was, you couldn't stretch your arms out.
Yeah.
You couldn't stretch your arms out. So everywhere you turned, it was you and those walls, man.
Horrible place to be. I was there, man. I was in a cell that was full of cockroaches. Remember when you're locked in cockroaches, you would have to buy a box of matches, put a plastic bag over it, light the matches, and all the sulfur would kill the cockroaches.
Yeah. What
Remember,
about the mice? What about the rodents, man?
you had to tie your net bag up on the wall. They couldn't get in your food.
Man, they tight rope into you, man. And that's just some of the things like about prison. But some of the worst things is you start realizing how sick some people are. And then you start evaluating yourself and you realize that you're also sick. And you need some collecting, as they say. Because if not, it will take you under. How many different friends you and I have that at one minute they were just like me and you right now, coherent, they can speak, they can present something cogently, they had good cadence and good orator, good verbiage, good sense of humor, good character. You see them 15 years later, they on the med line. They on the med line, man.
They become bug outs.
Prison will do that to you, man. So it's not a cakewalk. It's just certain men come through it a different way. You know, we fight through it a different way. But if you don't have that in you, if you know you can't take that wall, then stay up off the corners, man.
No doubt.
Stay up off the corners. Don't wait till you get in and now your integrity is challenged. Now you're forced to be a coward or do some stuff that's you forced to betray somebody and say, well, this is what I'm doing. Because betrayal is not a good thing to teach children.
No doubt. Let's talk about this. You're a young New York guy. Obviously, people heard the first, video that we did. Talked about you being in D.C. and a bunch of New York dudes back then went to D.C. were trying to get money. Some were getting money. Some became victims. Recently, Alpo was killed the other night, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're not on here like everybody else, just like smashing the dude and he's a bad guy and let's get clickbait and all that stuff. Forget all that. Let's talk about the reality of it. You knew Alpo, right?
Yes.
I want you to tell me a little bit about him. What was he like as a person before all the other stuff happened? Like when he was in the street, what type of dude was he really?
Truthfully, Alpo was he was a decent dude early on. He was very much so a decent dude. He had his little ways, because he was live, he was wild, he was a daredevil, but he wasn't hated like that. People downplay him, but he wasn't hated. But he was a decent dude early on. Key words, early on. We're not going to sit here and confuse what the end of his legacy is.
Yeah. He ended up, how much time did he end up doing? Do you know off the top of your head?
He may have done 20 something years, due to the fact that he became a government informant.
Let me ask you this too. When he was in the street, was he a gangster? Would he shoot you? And I'm going somewhere with this, Reggie. Obviously he would cross his own people, right?
Eventually, right? And that's him. That was his, let me say this, right? There are signs, right? And this is not just about him. There are signs that we all missed in the 80s, all right? When we weren't able to identify who would get in the room and fold. And one of those signs was selfishness. Where everything is me, me. Where if somebody do something, you got to do it just like them or try to beat them at it. And those are little signs, little notes that we missed, because had we been able to see it, we would have known, yeah, he's going to go. He's going to tell. He's going to tell. But we missed it, and somebody is in ADX and somebody else was in the streets.
Yeah. ADX is a dangerous place. So I know that, I've read some of the stuff, and, he was in the witness protection program, but seems like he got tired of being in the witness protection program. He wanted to come back to the city. Maybe he missed New York. Maybe he regretted some of the things that he had done in his life. Maybe he just wanted to be glamorous. And at the end of the day, it cost him his life, right?
Yeah, so this is my take on that, right? And I don't want to harp on him too long, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I come from the streets, and we lived a certain lifestyle in the streets. And in the streets, there was rules when we was coming up. There was codes, and people stood by it. And at the end of the day, if you violated those codes, there was one of two things going to happen to you in the street life. You're either going to go to jail because you did something that you shouldn't have done and you made a mistake, or death. And, hence, Alpo's dead.
Alpo's dead.
Yeah, Alpo's dead, and that's that. And we
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
And the message here today is more of, don't end up like him, man. Don't be a young man that makes a bad choice and you end up in prison. You end up in a situation where, there's no way out. Even though he told on his friends, he still did 20-something years. So there's not always a way out.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
And now he's gone, man. And I wonder what he was thinking. I wonder if he's seen it coming at the last minute, like, oh shit. I wonder if his life flashed before him, where it was just like, they got me, man.
It may have, because that's just the way some things are. Some events take place a certain way, but the bottom line is there's two things that take place when you live in that lifestyle. There's codes in the streets: life or death. And when you violate those codes and then you rub them in people's faces and things of that nature, you may be more likely to see the latter.
It's crazy, man. Like, you did a lot of time. We both were in prison with people that have done, for example, people that have done a lot of time. Guy Fisher. We were both in prison with Guy Fisher. I like Guy Fisher a lot. Actually sent him a bunch of stuff on compassionate release after he got transferred from Raybrook. Were you there when him and Lex left?
Yes.
And I remember, man, he was kind of sad that he was going down because one of his family members had contacted me. So, hey, man, what can we do? Pretty much there was nothing that you could do. The BOP will send you wherever they want to send you, right, Reg?
Yes, they will.
Not the life that people want to live. So now that you're out here, you're helping people, you had talked about this woman's case that you're working on. I want people to see that the feds have no compassion. Tell me about the lady's case that you're working on with the organization that you're working for. How old is she? What are her medical conditions?
Okay, she's about 60-something years old. She has stage 3 kidney disease, chronic high blood pressure. She's been in prison, like I said, approximately 20 years with no disciplinary history. She has taken every program that she can take. They can't even offer her anymore. And, she's struggling to get out of prison, and our argument is, who's perfect? You released me. They released you. They released others like us. Why not her?
I've made that argument where I said, this guy deserves to get out of prison more than I deserve to get out of prison. I'm out and he's still in. So when you make these bad choices, you end up in prison. They don't care that you're 60. They don't care that it's a woman. They don't care that she's dying. There's no compassion. Like, these people just think, hey, this is it. This is what I do for a living. This is my job. I don't see the 60-year-old lady. I don't see her health conditions. I don't see that she's going to die in prison and never see her kids again as a free woman. They just don't care, man.
They don't, man. Listen, I had chronic high blood pressure. I had a swollen heart due to chronic high blood pressure. I had not had a shot for 17 straight years. I had taken literally about 9,000 hours worth of programming and courses, including some college courses. And the United States government, we begged him to concede. He's not sentenced to death. He's getting released anyway in a matter of 6 years or whatever. They fought tooth and nail, man. They didn't care about nothing that I was. I had 100 letters written. They could care less, man. If they had it their way, I still wouldn't know what it felt like to hold my grandson in my arms free, man.
How's it feel? How's it feel to hold your grandson in your arms free?
All right, I'm going to tell you something. I'm suffering right now from some nerve damage, right?
Yeah.
In my left foot. And I'm talking about it's painful all day, every day, right? All day. The medication doesn't soothe it, right? The other day, he's 3 years old. I lay down, right? And he's sitting right next to me. He lays on my chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wrapped my arms around him. And he went to sleep, holding me. And for 4 hours, I felt nothing on my foot, man. That's the power of a beautiful child, man.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you're free, man, and living your life. You know what I'm saying? Some people had asked me some questions, right? In your perspective, what do you think was the worst prison in New York State?
The worst prison in New York State
is
one that I haven't been to. It was Attica. It was Attica. These police in Attica were they were beating people to death up there. They would hang a guy's braids or dreads up there so somebody could see it. They would take you in a basement and beat you senseless, man, for nothing. They'll put you on the wall, and if your hand slipped, they beat the brakes off you, man. And also the bell rings every day in Attica, even on inmate to inmate violence. So Attica, far as I know, is the most vicious prison in New York State.
Dangerous place. I was there when I was a teenager, man. Couldn't believe they sent me there, bro. But I was there. Were you ever in Cashapp?
No, I've never been to a Max B. Never. Cashapp's a Max B.
So where were you at?
All right, I'm gonna tell you where I went from Elmira. I went from downstate to Elmira, from Elmira to Comstock, from Comstock to Auburn, from Auburn to Greenhaven, from Greenhaven to Clinton, from Clinton to Sullivan, from Sullivan back to Clinton for 4 or 5 years, from Clinton to Shawanga, and then the feds picked me up in 2011. I stayed there 2 years, and then I came back, and I made my first board in Shawanga and was picked up by the feds in 2017.
Did you think you were getting out of prison in New York? Were you like, I'm going home on this date, and then all of a sudden the feds are here and you got to go?
I'm gonna be honest. I had seen so many people go to the parole board, right, with just as much rehabilitation as myself.
Yeah.
And I had seen them, and they had not made the board. I have friends that went to parole board for 25 years and was hit 10 times, man. Guys are doing 45 years before they come home, man. 39, 37. I have a friend that did 37, man, right now, man. He did 37 years because he was hit 8 to 9 times, man. That's how cruel the New York State Prison Parole Board is, man. It's just endless, you know.
Was there ever a time when you thought you were going to die there?
Yes, there was a time I thought I was going to die in prison, but that inspired me to lift up. You know, one thing about me, I don't allow negative thoughts to fester too long with me, because if so, I know it'll take you under, especially in the prison system. You can go out to eat chow, and in your mind, you see that you're never leaving. Somebody say something to you, you knock them out and try to beat them to death. You know, or you find yourself getting stabbed because you're so hostile towards people, you know? So I never allowed it to do that to me.
Yeah.
I'll put some music on, I'll pick up a book, I'll go work out, I'll go play some ball. You know, I do a number of things.
They do armed robberies in prison?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Come right in, you know, right to your cell. Give it up.
There was a time when we were in Raybrooke. I don't know if you remember this. We're not going to say names. But there was a dude from Pennsylvania. He was selling K2, man. He had sheets of K2. He was they were getting a lot of money off them sheets of K2.
Okay.
And a mutual friend of ours robbed this dude.
Uh-huh.
And dude acted like he was that dude, right? Dude was a fly dude. You know, nice clothes. Like, yo, I'm that dude. I'm a gangster. They went and took his shit, man.
Yeah. At gunpoint.
With knives at knife point in prison. And all that tough guy shit he folded, right? Didn't do shit, right?
Yeah, it goes out the window, man. It goes out the window. But that's, you know, that's just another part of prison that these youngsters need to know about. That, you know, like I said in part one, you check the gun in at the precinct, man. When you get in here, it's time to really show who you are and what you're made of, because somebody gonna try you. You're just not gonna survive because you was little Joe Blow in the streets. Somebody gonna try you, and it's time to show ass or be ass. You know,
that's it. It is what it is, right?
I mean, why wouldn't it be?
That dude acted like he was a tough guy. Got his shit taken. Didn't want to fight. Didn't want his stuff back. He just wanted to do his time. At that, I just want to do my time. I remember him talking to me. He came to my cell. He said, "Listen, man, I really need to talk to someone." He said, "Man, I just want to do my time, man." And for real, man, even though it was one of the New York homies, I was like, "Look, bro, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but I probably wouldn't be doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Just keeping it real." I mean, we've seen a lot of situations like that. I want people to know that prison is real. That was at an FCI. This dude was robbed at knife point at an FCI, man.
Yeah. And had he not given up what they were asking for, he would have felt like he was in the pen, because that particular group of dudes were pen dudes, and they would have given it to him. He would have got everything, man.
For 3 or 4 sheets of K2 at $2,000 a sheet, yeah, they would have killed him they would have stabbed the shit out of him for $6,000-8,000 over there.
Yeah, knocked him out, everything, threw him down the steps, everything. That's a fact. That particular group of guys.
I don't know if you remember this or if you were there, but I think we might have discussed it in the last video. Real big dude, man, came, said he was from California, said he was a blood dude and all that. He was always spending all kinds of money. Remember him?
Yeah.
Really, man, the same group of dudes, they pretty much told dude, like, yo, this is what it is, homie.
Yeah.
You around here acting like you got all this money, talking about dude was his cousin from Death Row Records, Suge Knight. So, man, Suge Knight's my cousin. And really, man, I think dude was really from Connecticut. I think he was faking. I think he was lying. I don't think he was from California. There's a big old brolic bodybuilder dude in there for a white collar crime. And for real, he was faking at the highest level, because that same group of dudes was like, yo, this is what it is, homie. You're about to get that up. And they got on him. And that big dude went right to the CO in our unit and said, yo, man.
And checked in.
I got to get out of here. Do you remember that, man?
Like yesterday.
He didn't even fight back for his shit. He just let them take his stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, he was. What was it? What's the saying? You either get with it or get up under it.
That's it, man.
He got up under it and got low, man.
Want people to know, man, that tough guy shit. You don't come in there faking and act. Don't be a part-time tough guy being all the time tough guy.
Yeah. Or how about not be a part-time or an all the time? How about just being who you are and finding another way to live your life? Because prison, all the streets, you're not going to succeed. It's just the streets doesn't have a straight path where it just goes this way.
Yeah.
You know, as you're journeying in the streets, right? Like this, you're gonna run into the wolves over here, they snapping. The wolves on the right side is snapping. The cops is throwing cuffs at you. Over here, the goons are shooting at you. Over here, guess what? You have family members that's drug addicts. It's just too much. And guess what? Another thing I wanted to get into, one of the real sad things about prison is that we're not doing it alone. Our parents are doing this time with us, man. Your grandmother did as much time as she could, man, with you. My grandparents did as much time as they could with me, man, before they passed away in prison. You know, so our loved ones do this time with us. We don't get sentenced to 25 years alone or 40 years alone. Our mothers, our wives, our aunts, our cousins, our friends, real friends, they get sentenced with us, man. And it's unfair to sit them in front of a judge and have them be sentenced with us, man. And you need to know it at 20 years old before you 51 realizing it. And people are still dying and you're still on the count.
For sure, man. For sure. I'm gonna close the show, but if you got anything else you want to say before we go, man, is there anything you want to tell the people?
Well, I'm gonna say this. Last time I spoke to the youth, you said what would I tell my younger self?
Yeah.
I would sit down with them and I would say, man, you're much better than this, man. You're much better than this. Um, you're going to become something special, but you can't get there if you don't take the blinders off. And I would ask him to remove the blinders and see life from all angles, not just from what's in front of him, which is some coke, some dope, some guns, some cars, some street stuff. I would say, man, see it for what it is and be who you're going to be. Start taking the journey now, or else you're going to be sentenced to 25 years and you're going to end up doing 30 of them because you are not exempt. And that you is not just only me, it is the youth that's out there right now. So when I say you are not exempt, I'm speaking to all those who look just like I looked at that age.
No doubt, man. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I'm gonna close the show. Reggie, man, one of the best dudes I ever met in prison, man, for real. One of the best dudes I ever met in life. Intelligent dude, man, always cool, calm, and collective. You know, we've been in some situations, man, when we were in Raybrook where me and you just went off to the side. I was like, man, can you believe this, man? Look at these dudes, man. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there were times where I just wanted to. There were times when I wanted to snap. When the thing with Scotty, and I ended up, whatever. He couldn't watch the Super Bowl. Remember? And he was a Patriots fan. He couldn't watch it. And there have been times when you talk me down, like, yo, bro, stay focused, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just want to let you know that I appreciate you, not just for coming on the show, but I appreciate you for being who you are. And I appreciate you for the work that you're doing, fighting for that lady. Anything that I can do, anything that I can add. I look forward to talking to the students and stuff and the lawyer on Friday, man. And, this isn't a station or a channel where we're just talking shit, man. We're giving it to them real. We're giving it to them raw. And again, man, I appreciate you. I'm going to close out with respect. Blood on the Razor Wire TV. We're out until tomorrow.